According to the Executive Director of Federation of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, John Walugembe, the survey was conducted in Gulu, Tororo, Mbarara, Masaka, Jinja, Mbale and Busia. A survey report by the Federation of Small and Medium-Scale Enterprises indicates that most small businesses across the country have been adversely affected by the COVID-19 lockdown, and at least 36% of them have closed. Walugembe says many are reportedly struggling.
If your obligations are more than what you're earning from a business, then it doesn't make sense. Because there are people, for instance, operating in arcades, and your rental area, if you combine your rental areas plus the salaries you are supposed to pay plus the bills, you find that I can't really survive.
This is a tailoring shop owned by Lilian Alinda, situated next to the road in Chebando. Alinda started the business with one tailoring machine and had invested all her savings from her previous job as a bank debt collector. Until the first lockdown last year, the business had grown to employ 6 people. But now the tailoring machines are rusting away as they have not been used for months. After surviving the first lockdown last year in March, Alinda took out a loan to rebuild her business before she got an order to make face masks. But the latest lockdown has left the business on the verge of closing.
I was closing the business because of the economic uncertainty these days. I first of all thought about getting the loan to keep the business running, but then I was like, what if the government closes again, locks us down for another 3 months? Where will I get the money to repay back the loan?
Even after government reopened schools early this year, Alinda hoped to get uniform orders in vain.
When they opened, the head teachers allowed students to go back to school irrespective of what they are dressed in. Even people who are not having uniforms were allowed back in classes. And also considering that the parents were not having that money to buy new uniforms.
Even corporate companies were unwilling to order for staff uniform due to challenges associated with the COVID-19.
The companies, some of them closed. Other companies laid off workers so they cannot purchase uniforms, and other workers who are there are working from home so they no longer use uniforms.
The 24-year-old social worker says she's changing her mind about closing her business after her workers agreed to work outside their contracts.
My employees, I'm lucky enough that they tried to understand the situation and decided that I would open the business again, but pay them on commission basis depending on how much the business would be earning.
In 2019, you were a debt collector in one of the banks and you had a salary that you were receiving every month. At some point, did you sit and regret why you had to decide to resign from your job and then start a business?
I get all my money, remain with nothing like saving, and I invest it all in a business, and things do not work out. It gives me depression at times.
According to the Federation of SMEs, the upcountry businesses were not badly affected like the ones in the urban localities.
They've been less stringent in the enforcement of COVID-19 rules upcountry.
Although government had asked landlords to be lenient with their tenants and banks to defer loan repayments, this is a major hindrance for many SMEs.
Whereas, for instance, a central bank asked commercial banks to restructure, these microfinance institutions didn't participate in any form of loan restructuring. So, SMEs had to keep paying even during the lockdown.
So what needs to be done?
The government could set up a special vehicle to take interest in businesses that the government would want to survive. Okay? If that is the case, government would inject money, government would put in place a special unit of young graduates who would help these businesses to be resuscitated.
Last week, experts from Makerere University School of Business were urging government that it should invest more money in microfinance support institutions so that they can support the small enterprises like that of Lilian Alinda and also others that are medium in nature that were affected by COVID-19 pandemic. In fact, when the president was addressing the nation on Friday, he said that government had earmarked about 200 billion shillings to support such kind of businesses. And the faster the Ministry of Finance ensures that that is implemented, the better for such businesses that are on the verge of closing while others have even closed shop. Sudhir Biarhanga, NTV.